Metals in the brain can cause anxiety, fear, panic attacks, depression, anxiousness, all in one go, or even just little bits and pieces of that from toxic heavy metals in the brain. Toxic heavy metal, aluminum, mercury, electricity running through the brain hits the copper deposit. Yep, copper deposit. You see this? Puts stress on all the neurons and glial cells. And then the adrenals release more adrenaline. You guys see this? There it is. Okay? And that's just something that happens. Living metal, dead metal. In your brain lies living metals. Metals that are alive, vital. Soft metals, good metals, even tiny traces of heavy metal that's not toxic. It's in trace forms, like gold. Tiny trace forms of gold that come from our food sources, and gold's a heavy metal that resides in our brain. But it's a living metal. It's coming from the food we grow, it's in its trace form, and it's a living metal. And then you have dead metals, industrialized metals, copper that was industrialized, mercury that was industrialized, aluminum that was industrialized. So medical me and books have deemed aluminum a toxic heavy metal versus a light metal, because of the substantial damage it does. And probably 5 years from now or 7 years from now, they're just going to call it a toxic heavy metal. Which I actually saw, they've already done that recently. The whole point I'm trying to say is that we have living metals inside of our head and we have dead metals inside of our head. And these dead metals interact and they battle the living metals. So we have metals that are useful in their form, they're soft metals, they're heavy metals, but we have them in trace forms from our food, and they actually sit inside of our brain and they help to make up a neurotransmitter, they help to support a neurotransmitter, and they help to feed and keep alive neurons and allow neurons to have electricity run through them. So here's how it works. If you have a neuron right here, there's lots of neurons in our brain. You guys all know that. If you have a neuron, so just make it a big neuron. Okay? If that neuron is filled with living metals, soft metals, heavy metals, but living metals that come from your food supply, if you got living metals in here in this neuron, that neuron is going to do this when electricity goes to it. Ready? Here's electricity again. Here we go. There's an electricity, right? Here it is. Boom. It hit that neuron. That neuron's packed with living metals. It hits the neuron takes that electricity, places information on that electrical impulse, travels to another neuron that is also filled with all these living metals. The living metals are the conductors. They're the conductors of that electricity inside the neuron so they can travel with information from neuron to neuron. But when our neurons are lacking living metals and they're filled with dead metals, that's when we're in really big trouble, when they're filled with dead metals. So what happens when these neurons are filled with dead metals, so let's make a neuron, and we'll put a nice big neuron right here, nice big neuron right there, put one here too. All right. The neuron is filled with dead metals, copper, mercury, aluminum, arsenic, lead, cadmium. There's more, but we could sit here all day. Okay, here they are. Dead metals are in here. Get ready when the electricity heads their way. Electricity is heading its way. Here it is, electrical impulse. That's your life force, electricity in your brain. Here it goes. It's going to hit a neuron. Neuron's filled with all these dead metals. Boom! It's like hitting a brick wall. And then you're like, I just don't feel good. Something's off. I better make another doctor's appointment. I better sign up to this course that says they're going to cure you of every disease for $5,000. I better just go see this. I better go see this person. I better fly around the world and dip myself in some crazy hot spring somewhere. But something happens where you're just like, something's wrong with me. 50 doctors later, nobody knew that you had a neuron. You had nerve cells. And they were filled with dead metals. And when the electricity hit the neuron with all those dead metals in there, problems occurred. It was like hitting a stone wall.